Agenda 21 is something that a lot of people are beginning to realize that this is a bit of a threat to their property rights and their personal freedom and so forth. Now, I know its genesis came out of Rio, came out of the Rio de Janeiro conference in 1992. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, there were several documents that came out of the Earth Summit in 1992. One of them was the Biodiversity Treaty, and Agenda 21 was the other. Those were the two main ones. There were some on forestry and so forth. But basically, what all of these documents were designed to do was set, as they say, an agenda to literally transform human society. And you know, as you read their documents, you will see that they are opposed to national sovereignty, nation states that have their own laws and their own way of doing things. They are opposed to free enterprise and you know, private corporations, private companies doing things. All of these programs that are put together through Agenda 21 are the exact opposite of what we set up for the United States and what the world has been over all these years, to where they're literally moving towards, of course, UN global governance. And the UN, you know, of course, looks at the world as its global commons, and that it should have jurisdiction over everything: the air, the water, the earth, and even space, that they believe is theirs for jurisdiction. And if you look at Agenda 21 and what it eventually leads to, it is exactly that. You know, Jack, we hear all the time from our critics that, well, the United Nations there are no blue-helmeted soldiers at City Hall, and it doesn't have any enforcement capability, so this is all voluntary and it's not something that we need to worry about. But the truth of the matter is, the stormtroopers for this are those NGOs. They helped write this agenda in the first place. And then they get these world leaders. There were 172 in Rio, including George H.W. Bush, who signed the document. And what are they doing when they sign the document? They're saying, okay, we agree to this. Then those NGO stormtroopers come in to the United States. George Bush has signed it, said, okay, we're going to do this. They come into the U.S. bureaucracy, to the Congress, to the people who write legislation, and they direct them. They begin to give them wording and help them hone grant programs and so forth. And then once they've got that established, they move into the state legislatures. The same NGO groups who helped write it at the international level, helped write it at the federal level, now in the state level.
Even at the local level now, you get down to county government, city government, towns, and so forth. These people who accept this grant money, they don't know that it has as its goal implementation of an overall United Nations program.
Yeah, and this is why you get...
So it's all secretive.
Sure, it's why your local elected officials will say, what? What's Agenda 21? We're not putting a United Nations program in our community. Well, we're just trying to revitalize downtown.
Well, that's the key here. Yeah. The key is that the people who accept the money don't realize what they're accepting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it has to be said that Agenda 21 is about one thing, other than global governance. It is about redistribution of the wealth. And every policy out of it is leading towards that. And if you back up to at the fall of the Soviet Union, you now had one superpower in the world, a superpower that was built on the idea of limited government, individual liberty, and free enterprise and private property ownership.
The United States of America.
Yeah. To those who in the rest of the world, the socialist governments around the world, the people who believed in government control over everything, that government grants you your rights and so forth. This was a terrifying situation. That here is the only superpower left, and the goal becomes, how do we harmonize the United States into the rest of the world vision? Agenda 21 became...
Well, we don't bring them up. We bring the United States down.
We take the United States power, we take the United States wealth, we take the United States industry, and we share it with the rest of the world. And you know, the United States has spent billions of dollars on environmental cleanup. We have the cleanest air and the cleanest water of anywhere in the world. And certainly, I mean, yes, there were environmental problems back in the 60s and 70s and around there. They've all been cleaned up. But if you listen to the Sierra Club, the Nature Conservancy, and the rest of these guys, we haven't done a thing. Nothing has been accomplished in all that time. It's because it wasn't about environmental cleanup. It wasn't about protecting.
You know, if all of their predictions were so, there'd be all kinds of people dying, wouldn't there, because of these problems? And,
Sure.
And it isn't happening. Now, there's an organization that is helping to promote this called ICLEI. And I'm sure you know a lot about that. So why don't you...
It's the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives, ICLEI, ICLEI, we pronounce it. And they helped write Agenda 21 in 1992. They were one of the NGO groups that were instrumental in putting it together. Once it was introduced to the world, and these 172 leaders, world leaders signed it, they made their mission to go into communities all over the world to work directly with the local governments to implement Agenda 21. And so ICLEI is in over 600 American cities now, about 1,200 cities worldwide, but 600 American cities. Their goal was by 2015 to be in 1,000 American cities. And
well, we've seen recently where some communities have said, no, you're out of here, goodbye. Others have said, no, we know what you want to do. We don't want it in our community. Take off. Get out of here. So the word's getting out.
Well, this is an agenda. This is, I mean, this is their focus, their goal. These people who, you know, you've got a mixture. People ask me, who's behind this and who's doing it. You've got a mixture of people who are viewing the goal as global governance, that we've got to have the United Nations in control of everything. We'll stop wars, these nation states, we don't want those anymore, people competing. We just want to have a great loving kumbaya hug with everybody.
And who's going to run it?
Yeah, exactly. And you've got these environmentalists who now see their attitude is you can't trust individual nations and representative governments to do what has to be done to save the planet, so we have to have the United Nations. So you've got the mixture of these globalists who are driving for United Nations control, mixed with these stormtroopers of these environmentalists who believe that's the only way that they can reach their goals. So the two come together.
Now, I know that there have been some communities that have gotten wise to this and have told ICLEI, you're out of here, we don't want any more to do with you. Other communities that have been approached to become a part of it have said no. I just heard recently about Ocean County in New Jersey, very, very effectively got rid of any attempt in their whole county to have any of this go on.
In the last year and a half or so, that has completely changed. What we're seeing now, ICLEI, as I said, has 600 American cities as members, and their goal was 1,000. In the last year, we have been able to spread the word, and as I understand it, something like 54 cities have backed out of ICLEI. At the same time, only 17 have joined us. So it's like a 34 net loss for them this year.
And you're just getting started.
And we're just getting started. And what's amazing, in the beginning, grudgingly, we would hear county commissioners say, well, we'll end the, they had protests in their chambers, and they had to deal with this. People were standing up saying, get out of ICLEI. And so they said, well, we've already gotten everything we can out of this membership with them anyway, so we'll go ahead and back out. So it wasn't because the policies were wrong or that this was a dangerous thing to do. This is, well, we're done with this. But now, as you mentioned in the case of New Jersey and others, we are now getting county commissioners, city councilmen who understand, who are doing it for the right reasons, and they're getting out. But I caution, because getting rid of ICLEI does not end the problem. All you've done there is shot across their bow, saying we're on to you. But now you have got to get rid of the policies. You've got to get rid of the programs. You've got to get rid of the grant programs that they help bring into town that are causing the implementation of this stuff. And so that's our next step.